And we're back.
Hi there.
I'm Brian.
I'm Kevin.
And we're the Horror Guys. Episode 36.
That's a lot.
It's a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like almost 40.
That's a lot of horror movies. Good thing we like horror movies.
And this week we've got the Universal Studio flick, Phantom of the Opera from 1943. Not the silent one.
There's a lot of versions of Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah.
If you go on the web and look for Phantom of the Opera, good luck finding a specific one. Wow.
You got to put the year in.
You do.
There's a lot of
them.
them.
Yeah. It's been done a lot. Anyway, this one.
Yeah. So then after that, we'll do the Hammer horror classic, Hound of the Baskervilles from 1959. Probably the only time we'll have a Sherlock Holmes movie in here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The it's new, Godzilla, King of the Monsters from this year, 2019.
Yeah.
And our international feature, Uzumaki, Spiral from 2000.
That's a Japanese movie.
It is.
International.
Uzumaki. And we got a snack this week?
We do. Sweet Tart Ropes. No artificial flavors or colors. So it's healthy.
It's like a long strung out cherry, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We haven't tried these.
Oh, it's like a Twizzler sort of.
It's
like a round Twizzler.
It's just a smooth tube.
Yeah, smooth tube. Got some kind of filling in it.
Cherry punch flavored.
It smells like a Twizzler.
No, much more intense cherry taste than a Twizzler. Yeah. I'd give those a thumb up. Soft and chewy ropes.
If I had a choice between these and those orange cream Twizzlers a couple weeks ago, orange cream slams these.
He says a couple weeks ago, he's got some in the cupboard now. Because he liked them.
Tried them for the first time on the show live, and now it's...
No, you're addicted.
It's a stocked item.
Yeah.
All right.
Cherry, tart, sweet, yum. Hey, sweet tart. That'd be a great name
Who'd
for a
have thunk,
candy.
huh?
A company, yeah.
You ready for some movies?
Yeah, what did we see?
What did we see? The Phantom of the Opera, 1943. A couple of months back, we did the Phantom of the Opera from 1923, I think.
This one's different.
The silent one with Lon Chaney Jr. Lon Chaney, I'm getting the junior just wants to roll off the tongue now.
This had noise. This had sound, noise, and everything.
And color.
Yeah.
Directed by Arthur Lubin, written by Eric Taylor and Samuel Hoffenstein, stars Nelson Eddy, probably his only role in a horror movie, Susanna Foster, and Claude Rains. 1 hour, 32 minutes. Got a link in the show notes where you can pick this one up from Amazon. You won't have to do a lot of searching.
Claude Rains isn't invisible this time.
Better yet, he's in color.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
Yes, overall.
You liked the first one too, though, didn't you? The silent one?
Yeah.
Oh, it was not only black and white, it was silent back then in the original.
I haven't met a Phantom of the Opera that I didn't like yet. I kind of like them all, to varying degrees.
I don't know, the one that was done off the Phantom play in like the 90s?
The musical?
The musical.
Yeah.
The recorded video. I was really kind of bored with that one.
It's better on stage.
Yeah, I imagine so.
Yeah. Yeah, the stage was better than a recording of the stage thing. Yeah.
Well, I think they choreographed it differently for the video. It wasn't just a stage play. But I thought it was a little boring. Music was good. I've got the CD somewhere. But
music's very good. Yeah.
Well, this time we start out at the showing of an opera, and the cast is really big. It's a big cast up on the stage, so they went all out on these operas that are kind of in the background.
Well, that's a criticism that I had about this, though. They're not so much in the background. There's a lot of opera in this, and it's not in English.
Actually, a lot of it's not really even opera, from what I read in the trivia.
Yeah, they really faked it
because
they had a trouble because of the war going on. They couldn't get the royalties that they needed, and so they kind of just took songs that were public domain and added.
They wrote their own opera music.
Lyrics to it, yeah, and winged it, yeah.
Yeah, but if you really
But
hate
it's a good fake.
there's going to be a lot of annoyance here.
Well,
if you can deal with it, it's okay.
And people say, "Oh, it's wonderful. You don't have to speak Italian. You can just watch it and get the gist of what's going on." And no, I don't want the gist. I want to know what's going on. Tell me in English.
He hates it when 20 and 30-year-olds play teenagers.
This is
he
a different
also
issue,
doesn't
but...
like watching foreign language operas.
Oh, you'll get the gist of it. You'll love it. No. I've seen stage plays where they did that. There was one done, a community theater play. A big chunk of it was set in Europe, and people were just raving about it in the community. And it's like, no, I hate this.
You're talking a Michigan community theater, and they were doing it in a foreign language?
Yeah.
You're not talking an opera. You're talking
a play. Yeah. It took place in, I think it was Italy. She visited Italy and staying with an Italian family, and there were many, many minutes of the play where there's just gibbering in Italian.
Nothing that passes for subtitles.
No, not in a play. They don't. No, they weren't high tech enough to have. Some operas will have subtitles or super titles where they'll do a translation.
That sounds like somebody wasn't thinking.
Anyway, this didn't have subtitles, and I thought there was too much for an opera.
They have quite a bit of opera here, and obviously the producers of the movie put a lot of effort into the opera side of this too.
That was clear, yeah. I mean, it was well staged, really
it's an expensive-looking movie.
Yeah, full-fledged productions, yeah.
As the show progresses, Inspector Raoul wanders around observing. He's here for Christine. The lead singer, Anatole, notices, and he doesn't like it a bit.
Because he's sweet.
Got a little thing.
They're both sweet on Christine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The boss calls in Christine and says she's nearing the point where she'll need to decide between her career and a more normal life with her man.
Yeah.
You can't do both, honey. You got to settle down and raise a baby.
Yeah, you can't. It was a kind of a different time.
Kind of a,
Yeah. You could either be a professional or you could be a housewife, basically, is what he was saying.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that'd fly today.
Yeah, not so much, yeah.
Well, Christine talks to Claudine in the hallway, and he's another guy who's obviously infatuated with her, and he's a little shy as well. This is Claude Rains.
Mm-hmm.
The boss next calls Claudine.
Claudine. Calls Claudine.
It's French.
Yeah.
The boss calls in Claudine next, and he makes Claudine play for him. He's a violinist. And
in the orchestra. Yeah, I don't know if we mentioned that. Yeah.
And he doesn't like the way Claudine plays anymore. He's losing his abilities as his hands are starting to have a problem.
Well, and the thing is, he plays this one song beautifully.
Perfectly.
But then he kind of confesses, and, and the director, noticed, because he knows this song by heart, and it's a simple tune, but he's losing his touch.
Yeah.
He can't play the orchestra anymore.
It's never really clear he's not just too old. He doesn't have, the shakes. I mean, we don't really know what the problem is. Some generic reason he's not good anymore.
Yeah, well, his left hand especially is going stiff, and yeah.
So he's forced to retire, but at least the maestro arranges for him to have a season ticket. It's the least he could do.
Yeah, real generous severance package.
Claudine leaves depressed and unemployed.
Mm-hmm.
So his landlady claims that he's rich, and he still owes her money. He says he doesn't have any money.
He's been spending his money somewhere.
He goes to see Frazetti, the famous music tutor who tutors Christine on how to sing. He's been paying Frazetti for Christine's lessons, and now that Claudine is without a job, the lessons have to stop too.
Christine has had a benefactor and not realizing it was
apparently they're very expensive lessons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, best of the best, this guy.
So, in order to get money to continue her lessons, he goes to the music publisher to sell the concerto he's written. The publisher gets rude and says he's lost the only copy of the song. He then hears his music.
These were the days before Xerox machines, so he didn't run it through and make a copy before he turned it in.
You'd handwrite a second copy, wouldn't you?
Oh, you'd think so. But no, he trusted these people with it.
Yeah. So it's lost. But then on the way out, he hears his music playing in the next room and attacks the publisher.
And this is just a big misunderstanding.
The guy's a jerk. He deserved it.
Big misunderstanding, though. What, Claudine's a jerk?
Yeah, there's a famous musician in the next room saying, I love this song. We're going to buy it from Claudine. It's his greatest work. It's his greatest success. He's wonderful. We'll make him rich with this music.
And Claudine's having a
and he's in the next room killing the publisher because he thinks it's been stolen.
Well, but that's what he thinks, because this guy is incredibly... the clerk is incredibly rude and says, well, I don't know where it probably ended up in the trash. Don't care,
you're a
go
jerk,
away.
get out, go away.
Yeah.
And they're doing something with printing presses and all that, and they're cleaning it with acid. And as Claudine is attacking the publisher's assistant throws a bucket of acid in his face.
Mm-hmm.
The publisher is dead, and Claudine did it.
Mm-hmm.
The police then search the streets, but Claudine hides in the sewers. The next day, the opera finds a costume and a couple of masks had been stolen.
And a bunch of food. Mm-hmm.
Probably not Sweet Tarts Ropes.
And the master key, too.
Oh, yeah, the one that opens all
the one that
doors.
opens every door in the
can
opera
go
house.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
The stage manager blames a ghost, the Phantom of the Opera. He can't say ghost. He's got this picture of it having a long nose and a long chin or a beard, and every time he mentions...
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's kind of comic relief there. But he blames it on this ghost, who is now called the Phantom of the Opera.
Mm-hmm.
The owner's master key has gone missing as well.
Yeah.
Later, Christine sings to Anatole, and it's the same little local song that Claudine had been playing for the maestro.
And she's been hearing that since she was a little girl. There are hints. It's a little simple tune. They don't come right
This
out.
has been going
and
through my
say
head
it.
for like 3 weeks now.
Yeah.
Don't even like it. But it turns out they're both from the same little town, and this is just some local little ditty that they played there.
Well, they never come out and say it, but he's her father.
In the movie, it's not. He's not. I'm sure she'd know her father, but it was written to be that way, and they cut it.
Written to be that way, and they cut actually saying it, but they left enough clues. I think that it's pretty apparent that
you could
that's
jump
her
to that
father.
conclusion.
That's why he's so obsessed, and there's some times when he's talking to her, and he's excessively apologizing, and it's almost like he wants to say something else to her. I guess he bailed when she was a baby.
Why do you think they cut that?
I don't know.
It would have made perfect sense. It did make perfect sense
to make
even
it
as
clearer.
it was done.
Yeah, make it clearer to people.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they thought this would be more intriguing, having people figure it out on their own. And
the movie never says it, but yeah, he is.
Yeah, it's pretty clear. Yeah.
The inspector finds a bust of Christine in Claudine's home. Anatole made it for a gift, and it was stolen from his dressing room. Anatole and Raoul are shaping up to be rivals for Christine. The two of them are kind of back and forth on everything.
Wasn't this the one where it was going to be Abbott and Costello at one time?
This was written to be an Abbott and Costello movie, and these two guys,
I could see
they're completely serious, but their physical comedy together. Mm-hmm. Totally, this looks like these two guys were supposed to be Abbott and Costello.
If they could do, if Abbott and Costello were there playing that up, I could see that working.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But this is in no way a comedy. This is not funny. This is a serious horror drama movie.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of Abbott and Costello that kind of leaked over still.
A little bit, yeah. Mm-hmm.
We then get a rather long opera break, which cuts away to the Phantom doing something with a prop drink. The leading female singer then grabs the cup and drinks it, and then the star immediately gets sick and needs to be replaced. Her stand-in, Christine, has to replace her. Christine comes back on stage after the break and blows everybody away. She's way better than the star.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The star then recovers and blames Anatole for poisoning her because he handed her the cup. He didn't do it. There's a police investigation, but the opera's owners tell her to forget the whole thing for her own sake. If you press charges, we're going to fire you.
Mm-hmm.
She makes an ultimatum, which then... It's kind of a Me Too thing, isn't it?
Well, and they also say that they're going to contact all the newspapers and she'll never get a good review again.
If you press charges against Anatole for drugging your drink, we're going to ruin your life and never let you work in this town again. It's another thing that wouldn't fly today.
Well, yeah, I mean, there wasn't
I mean, he didn't do it, but that's not clear at this point.
Yeah.
Huh.
Not. I mean, Me Too is she's never sexually harassed, but it's a career. It's
something bad happened.
Yeah, something bad happened, and they're shutting her down on it.
She's kind of overreacting, though. Yeah, I mean, well, she
didn't die, and she's a prima donna.
She's still the star of the show, right? At this point.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Maybe that's not overreacting. Somebody poisons you.
Mm-hmm.
She makes an ultimatum, which then brings the Phantom out of hiding. He kills both the madam and her maid. Okay, that's a little over the top.
Yeah.
Anatole and Raoul chase him through the stage workings, but he escapes. A note is then found demanding that the opera reopen with Christine in the lead role. Inspector Raoul says not to let her sing, which should draw the Phantom out of hiding. That'll tick him off.
Yeah, and we'll use Christine as bait. That's a good idea.
They do get a different singer, and they decide to also use Claudine's music after the opera.
Really tick him off.
See, they know all along that it's him. It's no
do.
secret.
Yeah.
It's just that the opera is so big and there's so many little hidey places they can't get him.
Yeah, the place is huge and underground hidey holes and secret passages and
The opera begins. All the characters in the opera wear masks. Somebody thought that was a good idea.
That was a good idea.
This whole opera is so they can catch the guy wearing the mask. So...
And everybody's in masks.
Yeah.
And guess who blends in with all the people wearing masks?
Right there on stage.
Yeah.
So the inspector can't tell who's who. This time the Phantom doesn't mess with the actors. Instead, he climbs up and saws through the chains, holding up the huge chandelier above the crowd.
I thought that was well done. Nice and long and suspenseful.
Uh-huh.
As he's sawing through and you see it slowly breaking and, like who's going to drop on? Who's going to kill? Yeah.
In the confusion, Claudine grabs Christine and pulls her into the tunnels beneath the opera house. He professes his love and intends to lock her up in the dungeon.
Yeah,
he could have said, "I'm your father," but he didn't.
He's definitely getting crazier as it goes on.
Yeah.
Oh, and the chandelier does drop and kills a bunch of audience members.
Whole bunch of people, yeah.
Crushes, that's right in the middle of the audience. Schmack. Yeah.
As Franz Liszt himself begins to play Claudine's concerto, Raoul and Anatole head into the dungeons to look for her. Claudine hears it and plays along down in the dungeon because he's got a great big piano down there. And as the good guys home in on his music, Christine then pulls his mask off, and yep, he's got a fairly realistic-looking burn scar.
Mm-hmm.
He's no Lon Chaney, but it's a burned, melty face.
Yep.
The inspector's gun goes off, which brings down the roof. That's a heck of a shot.
Yeah.
The heroes run for the exit, leaving the Phantom behind. Sometime later, Christine comes in after another hit show. Anatole and Raoul end up going out together, as Christine doesn't have time for either of them.
Bros before hoes. It's a bros before hoes ending.
The end.
Yeah.
It's an Abbott and Costello ending.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, comments? Anything?
I kind of added comments.
Got it in there? Okay.
As
Claude Rains.
Yeah. Nope,
Claude Rains is great,
yeah.
generally, but not so much here. He's so little, timid, and inoffensive in the first part. He's like a hobbit, kindly and innocent. A lot of the shots are looking down on him, and he looks so small and lonely and innocent. And you're like, oh, poor little guy.
And then he turns out to be a murderer.
So. Yeah, but he kind of, okay. He's the bad guy. He's the Smeagol. It's not really believable that he'd do all the bad stuff later. He's such a nice guy in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And then he just does mass murderer later on, and the flow isn't there. It's not a good transition. Nelson Eddy gets lots of chances to sing, and he and the inspector make an entertaining pair. The production values were very high, and you can see this in the background stage production alone.
Mm-hmm.
Those operas had casts of dozens of actors and singers.
Elaborate costumes, elaborate sets. Yeah.
Yeah, just for the pretend opera that was going on, not to mention the actual movie.
Mm-hmm.
And this was originally planned as an Abbott and Costello movie, and you can kind of see that in the interactions between Anatole and Raoul. And there was talk of a black and white version also starring Charles Laughton, but they obviously decided to go with this version instead.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't seen Charles Laughton too much yet. I know he did a Phantom Hunchback that was very well received that we have not seen yet.
A lot of versions of that too.
Yeah. I thought this was good. If you really can't stand the opera, you're going to get annoyed with it. I think there's a lot of opera music going on here.
Quite a bit, yeah.
But I thought, as far as the movie goes, it was very entertaining.
Yeah. Overall, still a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And next up, we have the Hammer horror film for the week.
The Hound of the Baskervilles.
1959, directed by Terence Fisher, written by Peter Bryan, stars Peter Cushing, Andre Morell, and Christopher Lee. Hour and 27 minutes. And I think this is the only Sherlock Holmes movie that kind of qualifies as a horror story.
Yeah, there's ghosts and scary things. And,
yeah. Monster at the end, kind of.
There's usually murders, but, there's...
Well, yeah, but that's... Why isn't murder generally considered horror? I mean, you got the general slashers and the serial killers. Those kind of fall under horror, but, just one person killing another murder for money or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not horror.
Yeah.
Unless it's got a lot of gore.
Happens all the time. Yeah. 2 every day.
Real world doesn't count.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 2 real world.
Well, we get a flashback to the past where Sir Hugo Baskerville severely beat and burnt one of the local peasants. The daughter of the peasant climbed out the upstairs window to escape him. "Release the hounds," he yells. He really does. And he goes out on the hunt looking for the missing girl. He catches the girl and kills her on a big old stone slab with a knife, like a sacrifice kind of thing. Just then, he hears a howling nearby. And then he's attacked by a hound from hell.
And he
Dun,
deserved it.
dun.
In my notes, I call him Sir Asshole. Sir Hugo.
Sir Hugo, yes.
Yes.
So,
he's an a-hole.
yeah.
Yeah, he's the worst. He's just...
So this man is telling the story of Sir Hugo to Sherlock Holmes, who then points out a bunch of minute details about the man. Your shoes have a little dirt, your coat's got a little wear on it. You know what he does.
Because he's Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah. And then he reads the newspaper about the much more recent death of Charles Baskerville, a relation to Hugo Baskerville. 2 weeks ago, Charles was found dead in the moor. It was the same place and similar circumstances to the death of Sir Hugo long ago.
Yes, it was years ago. Years have passed.
Many years.
Descendant.
2 weeks since Charles, but decades
many years since Hugo. Yeah.
Charles was not killed by an animal, but he does appear to have died of fright. Dr. Mortimer, the guy who's talking to Holmes, explains that the Baskervilles seem to suffer from heart conditions, and Henry Baskerville is the heir. Mortimer wants Holmes to investigate and protect Sir Henry from the same fate. Henry doesn't believe in the Hound of the Baskervilles. No, nobody does, really.
He's a sensible man.
Yeah.
He doesn't believe in such foolery.
Watson goes with Henry to Baskerville Hall. Holmes stays home. Holmes forbids Henry of going out into the moor at night. Holmes then spots a killer tarantula crawl out of Henry's boot, and they think it was placed there deliberately.
That stupid tarantula.
You don't like tarantulas either, do you?
No, that's not the issue.
No.
No, I like tarantulas. Tarantulas are lovable and huggable and pettable.
Not so poison, though. They learned from the coachman that there was an escape from the prison recently.
Well, it's this big dramatic scene when it's climbing up his
We're
sleeve.
not over it yet.
It's climbing up his sleeve. Oh my gosh! Oh, and they're all like, "Oh, don't move a muscle." It's like slowly crawling up his sleeve. Oh, don't move. And
then finally Holmes goes and knocks it off.
Well, he gets something in his hand. He doesn't dare touch it with his bare hand, and swipes it off just in time because it was about to reach his neck.
The killer venomous tarantula that will kill you by looking at you funny.
Tarantulas have a hard time biting humans. They can, but it's not easy for them. They don't do it on purpose. Unless they're being, if you squeeze them or threaten them,
they're not evil. If you don't attack them,
they're not evil.
Yeah.
And their bite is not deadly.
Not for a full-grown healthy man. No.
Yeah, and they made such a big deal about this. Oh, that was somebody's trying to kill you, and it just the fear and what didn't gel with me, and because they kept going with it too, because it was a big deal. Holmes is so smart. He knows everything, all this science. He knows the scientific name of the tarantula and everything. Goes to this tarantula expert, which I'm sure you got a note about. And, he would know that
tarantulas don't grow in London.
They're not. Well, they know that, but this wasn't a big deal. A tarantula climbing up his sleeve. It wasn't going to kill him. But they keep going on like it was a deadly attack and, an attempt on his life.
Are all the movies going to bother you this week?
Anyway.
Traumatized.
Yes. First, it was the opera. Well, there were none this week that had people in their 20s playing teenagers, so I think I'm good with that. But, anyway.
KevinRands.com.
Yeah.
They learned from the coachman that there was a prison escape recently, and Selden, an insane murderer, has escaped. That night, Watson hears the howling out on the moor. The next morning, we meet the local bishop who stops in to ask for things for the church sale. He tells Henry that his duties with leading the sale. Since Henry is the lord of the manor, he's got to open the sale and present himself.
Yes, it's a formality kind of thing.
Watson goes out to investigate the moor that afternoon. he runs into Mr. Stapleton, a poor man who lives in the moor. He's got this warped, defective, I guess he was had to have been born that way.
I think it was a birth defect, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Watson then chases a girl who leads him into quicksand, but Stapleton pulls him out. The girl, Cecile, is his daughter, and she ran because she thought he might be the escaped convict.
He's not.
He's not, yeah. He's
Watson. And quicksand's one of those tropes in the movies that's not nearly as deadly or dangerous as people think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you always see that meme on the internet. TV in the 70s taught me that quicksand would be a lot more common than it really is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to learn the same things about big vats of acid. They're not as common as they are in the movies.
Boy, there's a lot of industries and everything where they just have a big old vat of cryogenic chemicals or acid or something, big old vat of it sitting out. Gee, I wonder who's going to fall into that in this movie.
That night, they find a candle in a window and a similar light out on the moor. The two of them run out onto the moor in the dark, and they see a crazy man and pursue him, but he gets away. They hear a howling, and Henry starts having chest pains. He gives up easy.
Yeah.
Henry goes back home, but Watson continues his search of the moor. He runs into Holmes, who has been lurking in the ruins of the moor all day. He did come along.
Yeah, he's just playing them.
There is more evil around us than I have ever encountered before, Holmes says ominously. They hear howling and a scream. They find Henry dead on the ground. They head back to Baskerville Hall. Then they find Henry is alive and well back at the house. They assume the dead man must have been Selden wearing Henry's clothes from the church sale. The next morning the body is gone, but they track the blood drippings to the ruins. They find Selden, and his body has been mutilated in some unholy ritual with the same knife that Sir Hugo used all those years ago. The maid was Selden's sister, and she gave him the clothes set aside for the church rummage sale.
And that's why
she admits it.
That's why they confused and thought it was Henry.
Yeah, it was his clothes.
Yeah.
The candles in the window was "the coast is clear" signal from the maid to Selden to come for food.
Mm-hmm.
Holmes then goes to see the bishop, who is a bug collector and expert on rare spiders. Holmes knows that the bishop lost his own spider. Dr. Mortimer and Mr. Stapleton both visited the bishop on the day the spider went missing.
That deadly spider.
Henry talks to Cecile, and she tells him that their family story. Holmes talks to Mortimer, and he's hostile about everything now. He's getting kind of tired of the annoyance. He asks Mortimer about the abandoned tin mine on Stapleton's property. Tin mine? What? Where'd that come from? Mortimer warns him away from that dangerous old place, but they end up going to the mine because Holmes is insistent.
Mm-hmm.
They hear the Hound deep down in the mine. Holmes finds a recent beef bone in the mine. They go back to the house and find that the dagger has been stolen.
Ghost dogs don't eat beef bones. So Sherlock Holmes knows that it's not a ghost dog.
Yeah, and there is a real dog there somewhere.
Yeah, something's afoot.
Henry has been invited to the Stapletons for dinner. Holmes knows that Henry is going to be targeted once again, and they set out to follow him. Holmes has already figured out that Stapleton is next in line to be the next Baskerville fortune holder. Mm-hmm. See, there's a picture on the wall that's missing. And Holmes figures out that it shows that Sir Hugo had one of those messed up hands too.
Well,
it's a genetic condition,
and it's not just messed up. He's faking that it's not really messed up. He's just faking it to hide it because it's web fingers.
Ah, okay.
It's web fingers on the one hand that runs in the family.
Okay.
And he's faking it. His hand actually works fine. He just fakes it so that nobody sees so that he could hide that he's one of them.
Ah,
yeah.
He's like the secret brother.
Yeah, yeah.
Cicely leads Henry to the ruins on the way to their home. She admits the whole thing, knowing that she's going to kill him the same way she killed Charles. Now I'll tell you my entire plan.
Mm-hmm.
A giant, ugly dog attacks Sir Henry. It's a big thing. It's like 10 feet tall. It's got this horrible demonic head. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Watson shoots Stapleton while Holmes shoots the dog. Cecily runs away. She falls in quicksand and dies. Boom. The dog has they pull the dog. they pull off the mask, and
Yeah,
underneath
it's
it's
a Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo. Yeah, it's a real dog wearing this big ugly mask, and they literally do pull the mask off the dog's head.
Yeah, to make it look demonic.
And the dog had been starved, and they put a mask on it to make it more terrifying to scare Henry to death.
Yeah, they would starve it and then sick it on somebody, and
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the best thing ever. They pull off the mask and Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo? What'd they do to you?
Oh, we didn't go. Did you like it?
Yeah. Overall, it was okay.
There's no Benedict Cumberbatch?
No, it's no Sherlock TV
They haven't done a
series,
version of that for the new show, have they?
Hound of the Baskervilles. No.
Did they? I don't remember all of them.
No, they haven't.
It's been so long since I've seen them, I've forgotten most of those already. At the end, they pulled the mask off, and beneath it they found Scooby-Doo. This was to be the first in a series of Holmes movies, but it didn't do well at the box office, so there was no series made. So I don't know if this is Peter Cushing's only Sherlock Holmes or not, but it's the only one we're going to be talking about.
I don't think it's his only Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah. Christopher Lee gets a lot of dialogue here, finally.
Yeah, he
Dracula, he didn't
talk.
do much. Frankenstein, he didn't do much.
He talks a lot in this one.
Yeah, he does. And he stands a full foot taller than anyone else in the cast. And you can just see how big he is compared to everyone else.
Tall feller.
Cushing certainly has the severe look and shows a general lack of intolerance for stupidity. Andre Morel is Watson, and in this one he's neither comic relief nor a buffoon. He's useful, competent, and smart in his own right.
Yeah, that's nice.
It's the Watson Show.
Uh-huh, yeah. A worthy sidekick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, did we watch a short this week?
We did. We watched Alone Time.
I like my alone time.
Mm-hmm.
2019, brand new. Directed by Rod Blackhurst. Stars Rose Hemingway. YouTube link in the show notes so you can see it, and it's 12 minutes long.
And it said it was based on a true story. Did you catch that?
Is it a Blair Witch kind of true story?
I'm skeptical. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it could be.
Yeah. Could have happened.
Well, this girl, we don't know her name. She needed to get away from the stress of the working city. There's a number of establishing shots showing us what life around other people is hard. She decides to go camping to get away for a few days.
Well, and it's kind of, I thought it was almost amusing.
Almost.
Well, she says she leaves a message for somebody that she's going to go away camping. She needs some alone time. Mm-hmm. But the montage of scenes that they show leading up to that, she is alone. She lives alone. She works alone. She travels alone in the city, and
it's like New York City, where there's always a million people around, but yet she is kind of alone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. An individual among millions.
Yeah.
Immediately, the music changes and things start getting lighter. As she gets out of town, she smiles a lot more as things become more and more green.
And that was really beautifully filmed.
Mm-hmm.
The
whole thing is.
Well, the whole thing is.
But,
but even especially the getting away part, the nature. And
the contrast of the city is,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She parks the car and walks down a path. There's no one around, and it all looks very isolated now. Anything could happen.
But
she pitches
really
her tent. She goes for a swim. She builds a campfire. Night falls, and she goes to sleep. It's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Then she gets up in the morning, returns to the city. She looks at the photos she took while she's there. And maybe the trip wasn't as idyllic as she remembers.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, did you notice the guy in the background? I forgot to ask you about that. When she gets on the subway, there's a guy looking at her. And because it was a moment, I was thinking, oh, nice looking guy. She's a nice looking gal. They're going to, maybe have a little, but then, no, nothing happens.
Okay.
She gets in her car and he gets in, but it's clear he has seen her and is like, once he gets in the car, he goes her direction. And then, on one of the city street scenes, he's in the background too, looking
You think this is intentional, or they just didn't have enough extras?
No, it's clearly somebody looking at her.
Didn't notice that at all.
He's just out of focus in the background. Yeah, a couple times.
Okay.
Same guy. Yeah.
I thought it was beautifully shot and really relaxing to watch right up to the end. I was really starting to wonder where the horror aspect was going to come in, and they waited right to the last second, and I thought it was very well done.
Creepy. Yeah. Creepy. Unsettling.
Very.
Yeah. A thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Mm-hmm.
What's our big movie this week?
Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
Don't get much bigger than the King of the Monsters. 2019, just came out a few months ago. Directed by Michael Dougherty, written by him and Zach Shields. Stars Kyle Chandler, Vera Farmiga, and Millie Bobby Brown on vacation from Strange Things.
Mm-hmm.
2 hours, 12 minutes, so it's a long one.
Mm-hmm.
Did you like it?
Overall, yes. Not a strong thumbs up.
Okay, I need a number then.
6. I give it a 6.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, we'll hear what I got to say later. I thought it was fun to watch, but it was really not that great. And I'd seen all these monsters before, including the big one. I mean, I don't remember exactly what the movie was that this is a remake of. Do you know?
Not a remake.
Yeah, it was.
It was?
Yeah.
Okay, it's hard to say. Well, there's been 35 Godzilla films since 1954.
Wow.
And here's an example of the trivia from IMDb. Despite there now being 35 Godzilla films since 1954, this film marks the first time Rodan and adult Mothra have fought.
Well, yeah.
And there is just page after page
Useless
after page
trivia.
of trivia of the lore of these creatures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
35
movies. I mean, really, yeah.
I got tired of reading the trivia. I couldn't make it all the way through it. I don't care that much about all these monsters.
Yeah, I don't know if the original was Calling All Monsters or Monster Zero, or it was called King of the Monsters, but I know I've seen the same story before.
Okay.
Yeah. Black and white,
Okay,
crappy special effects from like the 70s.
I didn't realize that. Okay.
Well, this one we start out in 2014. San Francisco lays in ruins. This is taken up right after that Bryan Cranston Godzilla ends.
Mm-hmm.
The family is looking for Andrew as Godzilla walks by, narrowly missing stepping on them. Son Andrew was never found. And this basically continues the 2014 Godzilla movie. Dr. Emma Russell and her daughter Madison are at the Monarch Outpost 61, where they're studying a giant egg. It had been dormant for years, but suddenly started giving off radiation. The egg hatches, and it's a giant caterpillar.
Mothra! Not Mothra yet.
Caterpillar!
Caterpillar!
They don't have a name for it yet.
Yeah.
The containment force field fails, and the monster attacks the armed guards.
And it's grumpy, and they shoot at it, which makes it grumpier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dr. Russell goes out and opens up a device that plays a frequency that pacifies it. They name the creature Mothra, and it lets Madison walk up and touch it.
Mm-hmm.
Then the bad guys, led by Tywin Lannister, storm the place, killing many of the scientists. They take over the base.
That's Charles Dance, for those of you who go by the actor name.
Charles Dance, yes. But he's still Tywin Lannister here, walking in the door, kicking up and wiping people out.
Yeah. I think
Same character, different name.
I think there was a lot of that, yeah.
Yeah.
Same arrogance, and
You think he's like that in real life? He just bursts in through the door and starts taking over everywhere?
Every party he walks into.
Boom, I'm here now.
Yeah.
There's a presentation given by Monarch to the government of why they're qualified to find and destroy the radioactive monsters. Government wants to cut their funding. There are at least 17 of these monsters, now known as Titans, and some are believed to be benevolent.
Well, and it's not that they want to necessarily destroy them. The governments want to destroy them. They think the organization thinks that they're part of nature.
Them.
Yeah, well, that they're part of nature and that there's a reason they're here and we should study them. And the government's just like, let's blow them up.
The Monarch guys get called to leave, something's going on, and they go to Colorado to pick up Mark Russell. The evil Alan Jonah, Charles Dance, wanted to capture the communications device that Emma was using called the Orca, and Mark helped build it, so he's the expert. They take him to their undersea base. And all these bases and prisons and labs in this movie are like 30 years ahead of anything really available now.
It's very science fiction-y. Yeah, the level of technology. Yeah.
I don't remember there being all that science fiction stuff in the 2014 movie.
There sure
Apparently
is
things have advanced a lot in 5 years.
Yeah, they're a good 30 years of
At
technologically
least,
where we are now.
There's a helicarrier, like in what S.H.I.E.L.D. has.
Yeah, among other things.
I've never seen one of those outside my window.
And that submarine was just way beyond anything that's, very science fiction-y. Yeah.
Jonah, Dr. Russell, and Madison land on Antarctica, where they take over another base. They're digging up something called Monster Zero. Dr. Russell immediately starts up the drilling machines to release the monster. Whose side is she on? Mark hears an alarm. Godzilla is attacking observation drones. They open the shields to show the big guy that they're harmless.
Yeah, they've got this system set up where a bunch of monitors, they know where Godzilla hangs out. And they keep an eye on him.
They're in a submarine that's got like armored windows. Godzilla is attacking, and this guy wants to open the windows so they can say, "Hi, we're nice." You know, when Captain Picard drops the shields, you know the Romulans can read that the shields have fallen, and they think, "Oh, look, it's a peaceful gesture."
Right.
You think Godzilla's that smart?
They think so.
Oh, look, they open the windows, free snacks.
And it turns out that he is.
Yeah, well, okay. Yeah, I mean, he's right, so
Yeah,
all right.
yeah.
So Godzilla is off his normal hunting route, and Mark thinks he may be after the Orca device. He hears the sound, it's attracting him somehow. Godzilla's path takes him to Antarctica also. They know that there's a rival Alpha down there.
Mm-hmm.
Godzilla goes into an underground tunnel and loses his pursuers. Apparently there's like wormholes through the earth that Godzilla and these other creatures travel really, really fast.
Which is how they explain they can go to, from Hawaii to Antarctica in like 15 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a bit of a
Don't do the
stretch.
math on the timings here.
Don't think on the travel times for all of them. For the the people
the
in the
humans too.
Yeah, the humans too. Suddenly, they hop all over the planet very quickly.
Yeah,
very, very quickly.
Well, my next note here: what seems like 2 minutes later, the good guys are storming the Antarctica base, but of course it's too late. Emma's with Jonah now, and Mark wants her too. Madison has to decide, and she chooses to go with her mother. Emma hits the detonator, blowing up all the ice around the big monster, and it's free now.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone runs for the helicopters. It's time to get out of there, since the entire base is exploding as the monster rises.
3-headed big monster.
Called King Ghidorah, rises from the cavern. It attacks the helicopter, and it looks like they're all doomed until something distracts the monster. What could it be?
What could it be? A giant lizard named Godzilla.
They fight, and Mark is knocked out.
More than once Godzilla does that in this movie.
This 3-headed thing is ready to kill the main character, and Godzilla hits right at the right time.
Like from the side, he sweeps in.
From nowhere.
Yeah.
He's like a cavalry flag come out of his head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mark wakes up in the hospital. Why is Emma releasing all the monsters? She calls them to explain. She's saving the world. She wants to reduce humanity using Earth's original and rightful rulers. The monsters were here first. We can remove the humanity.
Yeah, she's
bad shit.
Well, she thinks that humanity as it is going to destroy the planet and everybody's going to die.
Yeah.
And this way, if she calls the herd, then there'll be some millions left that'll thrive.
Thanos with
not
monsters.
Everybody. Yeah, basically.
They're here
only more than half.
Yeah,
way more than half. Yeah.
The monsters are here to protect the Earth, and the humans are an infection. The monsters will restore balance.
Yeah, except there's a complication there.
Yeah. Meanwhile, in Isla Del Mara, Jonah's group releases still another monster out of a holding facility. This one is called Rodan, a fire-breathing bird creature with lava wings. All the monsters start approaching the same area. Rodan fights Monster Zero. The heroes are recalled. The military have been developing an oxygen destroyer missile that they want to try on the monsters.
Bad science.
Every time one of the monsters comes after the hero's plane, Godzilla shows up to attack. He tears off one of King Ghidorah's heads. Now it's a 2-headed monster.
But only for a minute.
Yeah.
It grows back quickly.
The missile kills everything for a 2-mile radius except Monster Zero, Godzilla, and everyone else. It didn't really kill anybody, did it?
They weren't within range.
Okay.
The humans all got
No, I meant
range.
the monsters. It didn't kill any of the monsters other than Godzilla.
Oh, they were the only 2 in range.
All right.
Yeah.
Godzilla is killed, apparently.
So they think. But the big one, King Ghidorah, wasn't.
No, he didn't bother him at all.
And that's when I think they begin to put it together that
he doesn't need oxygen for some reason.
He's not of this earth.
Ghidorah's head then regrows.
That's why he's not part of nature, and not part of the. That's why this whole nature thing that she had in mind isn't playing out because
he doesn't belong here.
Yeah, but he's taken control of all the other monsters. Yeah,
he's the king of the monsters,
except for Godzilla and King Kong. He was smart enough to ignore the call.
King Kong is kind of weird. He's mentioned several times in this movie. We don't really see him, but Skull Island and Kong are mentioned. It's clearly they're leading up to something in a future movie.
Yeah, and I don't know, there's a reference or something too where King, because the big alpha is putting out a call to all the monsters that they all hear, and they're all coming to him, and King
Calling
Kong,
all monsters.
something about King Kong, he's smart enough that he can choose to not.
Okay.
Is mentioned somehow.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't see him. Yeah.
Part of the universe.
Yeah.
Ghidorah's head regrows. Meanwhile, even more monsters are awaking. Emma says she's not responsible. It must be King Ghidorah or Monster Zero, two names for the same thing, that's doing it. He's calling all the monsters to him. The giant caterpillar comes out of his cocoon, and Mothra is now a giant moth. There's a cave painting that explores that King Ghidorah is not from Earth. He fell from the stars in ancient times. He's an alien monster, which is why the oxygen missile didn't work. The only monster that has a chance to beat Monster Zero is Godzilla, and he's dead.
No.
Mothra calls, and Godzilla answers. He's not dead.
He's not dead after all. Mothra and Godzilla have a special bond.
King and Queen of the monsters.
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah.
Well, they're both...
Well, no, I don't think sort of. I think that's pretty much just stated here.
They're both radioactive. Yeah.
Yeah. The new plan is to use nuclear missiles to reinvigorate Godzilla. They find an undersea temple with paintings of all the old gods, which happen to match all the monsters. This is Godzilla's home, where he goes to heal and evolve.
And there's a radioactive gusher, sort of? A natural...
Like an undersea lava thing.
That's radioactive. But there's, it's going to take him forever.
Could take weeks, could take years.
Yeah, for him to heal up from that. So they decide, let's set off a bomb.
Yeah, this is a really smart bomb, too. Dr. Serizawa takes a mini-sub to feed Godzilla a nuke in his own lair. It has a 2-minute timer, although there's no reason whatsoever they couldn't have used a longer timer to let Serizawa at least try to get away.
And what a plot device.
It has to be set off manually.
To give him a heroic death.
So he sets it, he presses the button, and the timer starts counting down, which they could have used a 30-minute timer.
Yeah, the level of technology they've got, they could have sent a robot in.
Well, the radiation would interfere with radio signals and stuff, so they couldn't remote control it. That much makes sense. Okay. But the thing is sitting there with a timer now.
Literally.
Why not use a longer timer?
He's there with a 2-minute timer.
Yeah.
Use a 15-minute
So
timer.
he presses the button and he sits there for 2 minutes and blows up.
Well, and even that barely gives the sub enough time to get away from the shockwave.
Yeah.
You could have a longer timer.
It's entirely too rushed. Yeah. It doesn't need to be. There's no reason. There's nothing going on right now.
It's a plot device. Yeah.
On the good side, Godzilla is healed, repaired, and fully charged.
Oh, yeah.
Madison leaves the bunker and heads out to do something on her own. She hooks the Orca machine into the loudspeakers at Fenway Park. She calls the monsters there, away from the king. Emma leaves Jonah to rescue her. King Ghidorah blows away Fenway Park, and Madison barely runs away in time. Just as he's ready to blast Madison, Godzilla intervenes.
Hey, there he is again. Yeah.
Flanked by hundreds of jet fighters to back him up. And it's one of those big scenes where the good guy monster's got all these army guys on his side.
They've decided now.
It's like the Avengers assemble of monsters.
Everybody's on the same page that they need to kill Ghidorah.
Yeah. No. Except Godzilla is now too powerful. He's about to explode like an atom bomb.
He's overloading. Yeah.
Ghidorah bites the power lines, and we can see that he can recharge as well.
From electricity.
Yeah. He shoots kind of an electrical thing out of his mouths. Mothra kills Rodan, or maybe just wins a fight. Ghidorah shoots Mothra, who explodes into dust that falls on Godzilla. Glitter falls on.
Sparkling glitter that heals him again.
Yeah. Emma powers up the Orca and draws Ghidorah away from Godzilla until it catches up with her and shoots her with its electro beams. As she crawls from the wreckage of her vehicle, the three-headed monster sees the new and improved, super-glowing nuclear lava monster Godzilla that melts buildings just from being too close to him. The magic Mothra dust supercharged him and made him super nuclear.
Super duper.
Yeah.
He's really good. He's really super now.
Sun-powered. He then kills Ghidorah and swallows the third and the main head. Eats the whole thing. Yeah. The other monsters finally show up, and they literally bow down before Godzilla because he's the new king of the monsters. And then we get the end of the movie, and it's the end credits. And after the end credits, there's an end credit scene where Jonah acquires one of Ghidorah's heads.
Yeah, Godzilla
didn't
didn't completely
die.
destroy them all. Yeah.
We did die, but it's not gone.
Yeah. And there's during the credits too, there's a montage of news articles and news stories and everything where nature is being restored.
Yeah, coral reefs are restoring, and then rainforests are growing back.
The one monster swimming is causing a massive reblooming of fish populations, and forest, there's one that's a forest one, and the forests are all regrowing.
So the crazy pro-monster people were kind of right.
Without the, having to kill,
all those monsters are still out there. They're going to kill all of humanity eventually. All they did was kill off the three-headed king.
No, they weren't. They weren't, because Godzilla is in charge of them.
And, because he's the good guy, right?
Yeah, because he's the good guy, and
Godzilla doesn't want to kill anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This looks good, and there's lots of good monster battles. My 12-year-old self would have been blown away by this film. None of the monsters really have much backstory here, but they all look really cool. It's supposed to be the present day, but all the technology is way ahead of ours. They have a helicarrier and some really high-tech secret bases.
All the backstory is in IMDb.
Yeah.
The trivia.
I'm not sure why they couldn't go for modern-day realism instead. If they want to make it a sci-fi movie, then at least make that necessary to the plot.
Mm-hmm.
Other than the little orca device that kind of speaks the language of the monsters,
which
none of this was really necessary.
They could have made that believable with today's technology.
Yeah.
They have sonar and echolocation and
animal signals. And stuff.
That's basically all it was.
It's a long movie, but the pacing is good. It moves fast from one thing to another. The science is just horrible, and there were half a dozen times when I said, "That's not how that works."
That's not how physics works.
But the film didn't care about that.
No.
Still, the monsters
disregard that part, and you're fine. Just don't think about
literally. That's not how that works. Still, the monsters themselves are really neat. It's kind of a super large-scale Jurassic Park where all the dinosaurs shoot fire and don't even care about the humans.
Mm-hmm.
Realistically, none of this makes any scientific sense, but they try so hard to explain it all. The talking parts get a little bit boring, and they really don't help, because that's not how that works.
Yeah.
They should have just let the monsters come out of the ground and fight without all the made-up scientific garbage.
Did you read what Charles Dance said about it?
What did he say about it?
Charles Dance rather bluntly stated that he nearly fell asleep at the film's premiere. He thought it was boring.
I wouldn't say it was boring, but it's dumb on a mental level.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fun battle movie. Watch the monsters fight, but
yeah, and don't think about the science.
Yeah, don't.
Yeah.
Speaking of don't think about the science, we had an international movie this time called Spiral. Uzumaki.
Uzumaki.
2000.
Or is it Vortex?
Or Vortex, yeah. We had a couple different versions of subtitles, and one of them they kept calling it the Vortex.
But it is titled Spiral.
Yeah.
It's not titled Vortex.
The director is Higuchinsky, written by Junji Ito, a very, very well-known manga artist, and Kengo Kaji, stars Eriko Hatsune, Fi Fan, and Hinako Saiki. 1 hour, 30 minutes, Japanese, subtitled.
Did you like it?
I did. It was funny. It was different. It was not terribly scary, but it was good-ish. What'd you think?
I hated it.
You're just not into these international subtitle ones so much anymore, are you? You're having some trouble there.
It can be. There's those ones I like. Not this one. Boy, I just could not connect with this one. Let's
see if we can't find you some non-subtitled foreign movies for soon.
It's not the subtitles that get to me. I don't mind reading along.
Just the weirdness.
This wasn't even weird. It was just dumb. I mean, spirals. Yep. It's another spiral. Oh, yeah.
We see a dead body in the middle of a spiral. Credits roll. A girl, Kiri, is late for school. She runs through the streets. A boy jumps out and scares her. He says he likes scaring people. And immediately I was reminded of that guy in Les Femmes.
The French.
The French, yeah.
The French zombie one.
And it kind of works out the same way.
Yeah. You keep jumping out at people.
Sooner or later, you're going to get your head shot off.
Somebody's going to shoot you in the face.
He also likes Curie. She also runs into a strange man photographing a large snail, but he seems frozen. She then catches up with Shuichi, her ride to town. It was his father filming the snail.
Mm-hmm.
Shuichi wants to run away with Curie. Something is bothering him.
Things are getting strange. His father's getting strange. He wants to.
Curie's father recently won a prize for his pottery. It's the art of the vortex. He shows the pot he's been spinning and says he always feels dizzy watching it because he looks down on the pot as it goes around in a circle and he makes a mark and it makes a spiral as it goes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As he looks down on the pot, it makes a visual spiral. He says, "There's something mysterious in the vortex. It is the highest form of art." The next morning at school, Curie is talking with a friend when the boy jumps out in front of her again. They call him an idiot and move on. A moment later, another boy falls through the open circular area of the huge spiral staircase, and this is the image we saw before the credits rolled. Was he doing stunts on the staircase? Was it an accident? What happened there?
Wasn't that the same guy?
It was not.
We
see him again later.
Oh, that's right.
I thought it was at first. I thought it was the scary
that's
guy.
Right. We thought it was. It wasn't.
It's not.
Yeah.
A rival girl encounters them and says she likes to draw others' attention. She's not a major character, but throughout the film, her hair takes on more and more of an outrageous spiral design. And by the end, it's some serious hair.
Mm-hmm.
After school, Shuichi explains about the Uzumaki, or spiral. He thinks the town is cursed by spirals. That seems sensible.
Yeah.
Shuichi explains that his father is obsessing over spiral things, sitting all day staring at springs and stuff.
And collecting.
We see
spirals.
His father stir the soup, and he's clearly losing his mind. Shuichi brings Curie home, and the father is beating the mother for throwing out his collection of spiral junk. His eyes go crazy, spiraling around in opposite directions. One kid comes to school covered in slime.
Because it's raining out.
It's raining, he's wet, except it's not water. It's
not
clearly
water. It's
snotty, goopy. We don't know what this is. Well, it's snail stuff.
Snail snot.
Turns out.
Snail slime. Yeah.
Something in his back is pulsing. Curie calls Shuichi on the phone, but he's not at home. His father is messing around with the washing machine. Curie's father has completed the spiral dish for Shuichi's father and asks her to take it over to their house. She goes inside and finds Shuichi's father inside the washing machine, stretched into a spiral by the spinning machine.
Mm-hmm.
Shuichi's father.
Hmm.
Shuichi's father in the washing machine.
And I was kind of disappointed. I didn't think we were going to get to see it.
It didn't show it right away.
What we did eventually.
Eventually, yes.
Yeah.
At the funeral, his mother screams. She sees his father in the sky, but it's really just a huge spiral cloud formation. She passes out and they head to the hospital. The spiral cloud touches down in the local pond. Again, Shuichi says the town is cursed. A reporter stops by, and he has heard a few things and wants to understand what's really going on. And they watch a video the father made before he died.
Yeah, he filmed
where we see him in
the
the
washing machine.
Yeah. Curie's father, the sculptor, is covered in mud. He went digging for clay at Dragonfly Pond where the cloud touched down. Shuichi's mother, in the hospital, cuts off her fingertips to remove the spiral fingerprints. You do spirals on your fingers. We see another student with another thing growing on his back. A lot of people are having these things growing on their backs. The reporter finds information about ancient mirrors found at the bottom of the pond, and that mirrors, snakes, and cults are somehow involved in all this. He calls Shuichi and wants to meet at the pond right away. Jump out and scare you, boy jumps out in front of the reporter's car, gets tangled up in the wheels, and dies. Tangled up in the wheels.
Mm-hmm.
And the reporter's head then hits the windshield, creating another spiral pattern in the windshield. They're everywhere. A huge millipede crawls inside Shuichi's mother's ear, and tells her it wants to live inside you.
The spiral.
I want to live inside you.
You know, there's a spiral inside your ear.
There is.
Yeah.
You ever see like the cochlea or something?
Yeah. Uh-huh. And so then she she's already cut off her fingertips, and she starts to think about them in her ears.
Very upset. Oh, yeah, you don't want to cut your ears off.
No, inside. No.
But she stabs herself in the ear.
Mm-hmm.
Later, Shuichi and Kiri see her face screaming in the spiral funnel clouds. A typhoon is coming. A typhoon is a huge spiral.
Uh-huh.
There are now reports of half-human, half-snail things that used to be human. And they're all leaving town for some reason. Shuichi and Kiri go to find her father so they can leave town, but Shuichi's legs start fusing together and twisting around. He's becoming a spiral now. He attacks her. We then see stills of other people dead from spirals. The end. You're right, that does sound kind of dumb.
Mm-hmm.
I was entertained through it.
Okay.
Well, it was weird, that's for sure.
Yeah,
there are spirals hidden throughout the scenes in various images. Nothing is really explained, and no cause is given for any of this. Cults are somehow involved, but we don't know. Were the snails intelligent? Some kind of alien takeover? Was this magical? It seemed like a curse. Who was behind it? We don't know any of this, but it was kind of fun to watch. All right, when we started, I said I liked it. I'm going to downgrade it to a 4. It was kind of bad.
I have swayed you.
Yeah, you have. Actually, I think I had persuaded myself there. Okay.
Yeah.
And next week, get ready for next week, because we got some other things we're going to watch. We're going to watch The Son of Dracula from 1943. This is where Lon Chaney Jr. becomes Dracula.
Mm-hmm.
Our Hammer horror classic is The Mummy from 1959. More Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing there.
They're good together.
Is it like they just hired the only 2 actors they could hire and then just made all their movies with them?
Well, it worked, and so they kept going with it.
Well, they're good.
Yeah.
It seems odd that just all the movies in a row. It's not like we're picking and choosing the best of them. These are the movies they made in a row.
Mm-hmm.
The new movie The Boy from 2016, and an international feature Battle Royale for 2000. Now, I can tell you, we watched Battle Royale when it first came out. He hated it.
Well, it was
he watched half of it and quit.
Oh, it was a really horrible cut of it. It was like somebody snuck a camera into the theater.
I
and
think
filmed
it was one of those ones where
and,
somebody rented it.
Yeah, it was a very bootleggy, poor quality. I think that was half of.
So we got a legitimate this time, and we'll see if it's a whole lot better.
Yeah.
Okay, so give those 4 movies a watch, and next week we'll see if you agree with what we think.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. Stop in at horrorguys.com for news and updates. Check out our Twitter feed at Horror Bulletin and our Horror Guys podcast group on Facebook. And don't forget, we have our Patreon page at patreon.com/horrorguys, or you could buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/horrorguys. I'm Brian.
I'm Kevin.
And we'll see you next time.
See ya.